All right, here we are on Wednesday, going live as we normally do. I have brain burnout right now. If you can see over there on the table, not through the window, that's just Jaylena's bus. But right there on the table is my laptop, because I've literally been working on editing all day, and I have editing burnout. So if anybody's around in the house, please just say hello. This is just going to be a chill, whatever we want to talk about type thing, because my brain could not handle like planning anything. But I've made a vow to go live every Wednesday, no matter what. So here I am, and looking forward to talking with you guys. I sound like a robot? Ugh, that sucks. That's not okay. That means something's going on with this microphone. Let me see. Let me see this. Boop. I guess I can't do anything. Oh, let's see. Yay! There we go. So let's see. I'm scrolling through some settings right now. I don't know how much of this I can tweak. Yeah, I don't think I can do anything. Oh, everybody else is saying I sound fine. Do I still sound fine? Because I hit things. So I need some water. Give me a second. I'm gonna go grab some water from my fridge over here. Oh my gosh! Why is it so far down? You know what? I'm just gonna grab a sparkling water because I ain't got time. Ow, my foot! Cool. All right. I just ended up getting. I don't know how many people have tried this AHA water. I was trying to just get to my regular water bottle, but I didn't feel like digging for it. So I'm gonna be drinking some AHA. Sharon Bolton says I have sewing burnout. I could use your help. I don't know how many of you have noticed, but I hung a curtain right here. And the reason why I hung the curtain right here is when the door is closed, I sort of have to compress everything in the garage area behind here. And it's not pretty to look at. So I decided to put up a curtain. And I can't sew. So what I did was I pinned the bottom of the curtain to length. At some point, I'll actually get it sewn. But right now, I just have pins. So that it's not too long. But you know, you find out things as you start living in a space, and when the door is closed and I can't really look out the back door to outside, it's just not pretty to look into the garage area, just because there's stuff I have to keep out there when I'm not camping, that just makes me look at a cluttered mess. But it's fine because it's okay for a garage space. It's just not something I want to see. So the whole idea of like looking through here at like my little fake tree design back there, once I'm actually living in it actively and having to store things realistically, just didn't work out as nice. So now I have this nice curtain, so it at least looks less like I'm looking at junk. That's my solution. Just hang a curtain in front of it. Charles says, we want a good report on the truck. You sound fine. So here's what's going on with the truck. Even though we found the problem, we put a Band-Aid on the problem. Rob agrees with this. I don't know how many of you have seen his video. Rob from Robert's Jeepin actually did put up a video that explains everything we did over the weekend, to this past weekend, to figure out what was going on with the truck, and actually figuring out it wasn't the fuel pump. But how can I put this simply? There were wires that were exposed in the back that we found that were the likely cause of the short. And so there's a band-aid on it called electrical tape, and like some little wire covers have been rearranged, but that is not a real fix, and it could lose signal again at any time. You know, I don't know what's going on with those wires, so I definitely need to see an automotive electrician. And so on Monday, I started making phone calls, and I did find a mobile mechanic. So at this point, I have not moved. I'm not going to go driving out in the middle of nowhere with a Band-Aid on what could be a larger problem. And so I've stayed put so I don't get stranded out in the middle of nowhere. And an automotive technician who's a mobile mechanic is coming tomorrow. And luckily, you know, I didn't have to lose my home to a shop. And somebody's going to come here and diagnose the problem. So I am going to have to like foot the bill for whatever that is. Hopefully it doesn't turn into anything too expensive. And it is simply because he is just going to do a full check. So hopefully it is just some wire. If it's anything bigger than that, I honestly don't know how much it's going to cost. And it would be stupid of me to go lottie-dying out down the road with possible other problems that could come from that exposed wire we found. So at the moment, I'm staying put, and going to have like an automotive technician come out tomorrow. That was the earliest I could get an appointment. Like in my world, I would have seen an automotive technician on Monday. But unfortunately, like the other two places were a week out, and I would have had to take my truck to them. Luckily, I found a mobile mechanic who could come to me, and just the diagnosis is going to cost me money before anything is even fixed. But you know, I'm hoping for the best and planning for the worst, and just working through the steps, which is all you can do. And I'm so grateful for everything Rob did, dedicating his whole weekend to working on this problem, you know? Let me see where we are. I'm scrolling back. It did that to me. Okay, I do have a super chat. Nancy McIntyre, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, I hope you had enough for your tires, but if not, here's another $5 towards them. Well, before I worry about tires, I need to sort out what this electrical problem is. You know, tires and some other things I'd like to have away on the back burner until I know this thing. And so I'm confident this thing could run and drive anywhere I wanted to, and there would not be a reoccurrence of the problem. Tires are like bottom of the list priority because I don't know, you know, in the end what this is all going to be like, you know. Oh, Thomas Thrift says, no, everything's fine. It's just the pauses that you were putting in at first. I was just tired, you know. Juju Gypsy Journey says, hey there, Dawn. After so much editing, you become a robot. Exactly. It's like click, click, cut, edit in music, robot. No, I'm just being silly. All right. Ellie's Adventure says, you look happy. Hope your birthday was spectacular. My birthday was great. I spent it with wonderful people. I was going to be a basic, I'm not going to use the word I like to use because this is YouTube and I don't want to get demonetized. I was going to be super basic. I was like, all right, I'm going to give myself space for a grocery store cake and some grocery store ice cream. And Mindy was like, no, not good enough. And she took me to some fancy place. And so I walk in the door and I see this mint chocolate cake, this fancy mint chocolate cake, which is the one you see in the photo. And that was it. I was like, that's my birthday cake. I want that one. I want that one. And that's how we ended up with the cake we got. And we went and grabbed some food because of COVID restrictions. We couldn't eat at the restaurant, but it was actually kind of nice. We just came back to Mindy's house, me, her, and Rob. You know, we ate some food, had some good conversation, you know, and I want to drop a video about that on Friday. That's my goal. I do need to fix, you know, that scroll that's at the end of my videos that has all of my patrons and YouTube memberships people listed. that scroll is a pain in the butt to edit, and it's impossible to keep up with it as people subscribe. So I try to do it once a month to edit it. I have not edited it since August because there's been so much going on. So before I put out the next round of videos, honestly, I just need to spend time re-editing that list. And then once I have it edited, I can just save it, use it for a month, and then update it the next month if things change. But when I started that, I was like, there's like 10 people. I can keep up with this. Now there's a lot more than 10 people. And I am so honored that so many people support me in so many ways, you know, watching the videos, people who volunteer to be moderators, people who have signed up for Patreon or YouTube memberships. Some people have signed up for both, and that's just insane to me, and I appreciate it so much. And it's like the least I can do is get that scroll correct, and it hasn't been correct for like a month. So I need to work on that. But I edited the video, and so tomorrow morning probably I'll work on the scroll, and then I can just drop it in, and then that video will be ready. But yeah, editing fun. Lisa Hing, thank you for the $10 super chat. She says best wishes for you, Dawn. Charles says every van lifer should put their fridges, coolers, etc. on a pedestal for easy access. Well, the thing is, you're trading easy access for it being in your way. The number of times I go in the fridge, I would not want it to be higher. Number one, I actually use it to get into bed. I've intentionally put it in a spot where it's a step. And second of all, yeah, sometimes it can be annoying, but for the amount of times I actually access it, it would be more in my way to put it on a pedestal than it is to put it on the floor where it is right now. It is most useful where it is. So of the two choices I had to make, the where it is perfect. Charles also says seam tape is iron-on and available at Walmart. It works great. No sewing needed. I need to find this seam tape. Thank you so much. Lisa Hing, there's different types. She says double-sided tape. There's different types of double-sided tape, and I've used double-sided tape before. And because it's fabric, and unless it's specifically for cloth, a lot of double-sided tape won't hold fabric over the long term if it holds it at all. So sometimes double-sided tape doesn't work. There's also different kinds of double-sided tape. It's not a catch-all. So that's why I didn't use tape. Corey Bowes is also saying there's a fusible tape that you can just iron into a hem. I would need an iron, but right now I'm sure Mindy has one. Right now I have access to one. All right, here, let me see. Terry Newell, thank you for the $25 super chat and the happy birthday. Much appreciated. Sharon says, if you were in Kentucky, I could fix it right up. I'm working on a t-shirt quilt. Oh, nice. So you're taking like patches from the t-shirt and making it into a quilt? Because that sounds cool. Oh, I've done some decorating, by the way. You see my little wild and free sign up there? And then there's a glare, but I put my picture of Lin-Manuel Miranda back up. And then over here, my mom's picture is over here. So I've actually done some decorating in here. I'm seeing a lot of people tell me to get the iron-on or fuse stuff. But then I also need to borrow an iron because I don't have one. Thank you for all the hellos and happy birthdays, by the way. FDM215 says, at Robert's Jeeping channel has been growing fast. Yes, it did. it took off. When I met Rob, he had like 3 subscribers. The last time I checked, he was at 400, if not more. So yeah, I'm really proud of him, and like he is really dedicated to like really putting out great content. He appreciates it so much. So thank everybody who jumped over there to either like leave a comment or subscribe to his channel. He is such a kind, beautiful, wonderful soul, and deserves all of it. Robert's Jeepin', what's up? I see you in the chat. He says, I wish I could have changed out all of that wiring for you, but it's out of my skill range. It is totally fine. Now that we know what's going on, I think having a professional take care of it is worth every penny. This is my house. I'm going to live in it long term, as long as I possibly can. If I found bad wiring in my house, like, you know, if I need to change out a door and some locks or a part essentially in my house that was not a vehicle, I would do that. If I found an electrical problem, I would call the electrician. So at this point, the right actions are being taken. But if not for you, I would have been going in blind, and it's completely possible they would have diagnosed a bad fuel pump. They would have changed the fuel pump, and then the vehicle still wouldn't have run, and I would still have to take on all these costs to diagnose what the real problem is. So, Rob, I am so grateful for you, and I'm so happy how your channel is growing. It's wonderful. Thomas Thrift says, you may have covered this in another video, but what kind of AC system do you have for the back area? Do you mean how am I getting power back here? My power back here is the Jackery. I just have everything wired to the Jackery. At this point, I even have everything that's wired to the fuse box. The fuse box has a 12-volt plug on it, and I just plug it into the Jackery. So right now, this whole truck is powered by the Jackery 1500. I do want to do my own battery. I have this goal to build my own battery, but I don't want to go into it willy-nilly. I've been watching videos. I've bought some books. And it's just my complete caution about it, but I do want to build my own battery from cells, but I haven't done it yet. Like, up to this point, it's been all the Jackery 1500. I don't know if that answered your question. I wasn't really sure what you meant. D, thank you for posting the link to Patreon. Oh, did I miss a... Oh, Esther Tucker, thank you for the $10 super chat. She says, wishing you well. You are a breath of fresh air. Oh, what's this? Georgia Peach. Thank you, Georgia Peach, for the happy birthday and a bus by association. Love it. Let me see here. Mama Sita at the Casita asks if I'm at base camp or bus town. I have not moved. Let's just say those two places are far enough apart that it would be quite a risky drive if I'm not feeling 100% confident. And I won't until the technician looks at it. It's not even something I'm going to play with. Like, I don't want to play with it. I don't want to try to fix it myself. This is a problem I want a technician to look at and be sure about. Whoa! I lost something. I'm losing the scroll. Colleen Cook says, I got the kind of curtains that have holes and then did command hooks, and they've lasted for about a year. Are you talking about you used the command hooks through like the top and it had holes in the top? I was just trying to get a picture. I'm not 100% sure. Juju Gypsy Journey says, Stitch Witch is used with fabric. I'm going to take a drink of water. Okay, cool. Sharon Bolton says you can get the spray adhesive. Will the spray adhesive work on fabric, or is there a specific fabric spray adhesive? Yeah. Gayleen Chatham says, hello, new to the channel. Welcome. Found you through Isaac and Jaylena. What do you do for work that allows you to travel? Enjoy the video. So that is a complicated question because it's not like I have this one job and it quote unquote allows me to travel. When I'm not working, as long as I have money, I can travel. I have not, even before I lived in vehicles, I have not had a standard job for quite some time. I graduated with a degree in theater. When I initially graduated, I was taking like resume building work wherever I could and pay the bills work wherever I could. So I've always done this mix of jobs and just survived, for lack of a better term. Right now, I am still stage managing as is available. I have not stage managed for quite a few months now. I think my show, the last show I did, closed in September. And besides that, I dedicate a lot of time to this YouTube channel and building up the YouTube channel. I started the YouTube channel while I was living in my car and working as a production manager for a little theater company in Oakland. And so when I had time off, I just stayed close to Oakland. So when I do have contractual jobs, they are location based. I am in that location for the terms of the contract. When the contract is over, depending on when I have a job again, I travel as is accessible to me. So I have not really had like 100% go anywhere I want freedom, except for the fact that my house is on wheels. So if I have a week off or a month off, or I don't take contractual work for a certain amount of time outside of YouTube, well, YouTube is support me at that point, and also like I can go anywhere I want. And if I need to start looking for a job, I start looking for a job. If I can't find theater work, I find something else. So I'm more in the category of the kind of people who do seasonal work, I guess, and then I also do YouTube, and so my ability to fund myself comes from those two sources. For the past few months, honestly, since COVID, because I lost a really good contractual job I had right at the beginning of COVID. But since COVID, honestly, my strongest source of income has both fortunately and unfortunately been YouTube. Fortunately, because, being able to do YouTube does give you a lot of freedom. You can do it anywhere. Unfortunately, because YouTube is a volatile source of income and you constantly have to, make yourself very aware of sort of the limitations of that, looking for other avenues of income that are accessible to you from doing YouTube is especially important. So I'm in a weird world that I would not want anybody to be in. There's much better ways to end up quote unquote a YouTuber with much more secure base. I never had a regular job anyway, so it wasn't like I had some office job and then I quit it. I was doing jobs with short-term commitments anyway, and then YouTube kind of became a side hustle, for lack of a better term, or like a side gig. Like I started it for fun. It started making some money. And then and as it developed, it was like, oh, I should probably start like treating this as a small business. So in a way, it's been that. FDM215 mentioned that there's also fabric glue. Judith Williamson Hudson says, "Hey Dawn, I made it." Hey Judith. Proxy Cast says, "What's your favorite food?" It's a complicated question because I don't know. I mean, food is a mood for me. I get in the mood for something and I'll just keep eating it. I wouldn't say, so people are going to be shocked at this. So I wouldn't say I love food. Like, there's foods I like, and I just don't know that there's anything like I love so much to call it the best. Like right now, I've been making these veggie wraps every day. Because I've been trying to improve my eating and eat a little bit healthy. So like my birthday cake was the first like desserty thing I'd had in a while. But yeah, I like chocolate cake. I like pizza. I try not to eat it too much these days. I'm super basic. Like, it's not like I'm going to be, I like chocolate mousse. That's just not something I'm going to say. I love a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm a very basic person. Like I am so freaking basic. It's sad. So I don't really have this favorite food where I'm like, oh my god, is it the bestest thing? I just don't have that kind of attachment to any kind of food, to be honest. Now you asked me things like my favorite movie. I'll still have multiple answers, but I'll be way more passionate about it than food. If you ask me about like my favorite cartoon, this is probably one of them. If you ask me like things like what's my favorite anime, I'm gonna give you way more passionate answers than what's your favorite food. The screen just jumped on me, guys. 880J says, when's the last time you paid rent? LOL, me 10 months ago. I don't know, like 3 years ago and some change. It's been almost 3 years. Yeah, I haven't. Well, unless you count the storage units. If you're talking about rent on a storage unit, not that month ago, but I know that's not what you mean. Yeah, it's been like over 3 years since I've had like a place that I've rented where I paid rent, on any kind of like expectation of me living there and paying for the rental. Iris Otten, thank you for the $50. Happy birthday. Roaming with Rose super chat. I did not. Let me scroll up FDM. Oh my goodness, Roaming with Rose. Thank you for the $25 super chat. It did get lost in the shuffle. Thank you for the reminder. I was like, let me roll back up. Let me roll back up. Thank you, FDM. Charles, I don't know that I can, and just because we found that wire doesn't mean it's actually the problem, so I'd rather have a technician look at it. At this point, I consider it an expert's job to be sure. And I'm not going to assume until I have those expert eyes. There's just some situations where I feel like it's worth it to have somebody who's trained in that field and knows what they're doing actually look at it and know it's actually fixed. And Rob agrees with me, as opposed to like if we knew for a fact it was the part and we just switched the part, that would be the end of the game. But right now there are question marks around what is actually going on, and too many question marks for me to do something stupid when I live in this full time. It's not a pleasure vehicle. And if there's anything wrong that I do not know about, it has the potential of being very, very dangerous and leaving me stranded with no one. Right now, I am safe. I can stay still. And the smartest thing I can do is get an expert to look at it. I don't know for sure that that's the end of the road. Colin Cook, you may have already said this, but is there any way I can cash app you a birthday present? Yes, there is. I have a Cash App listed in the description of all of my videos, or most of them. There might be a couple here and there that are missing it, but almost anything recent has my Cash App and my PayPal in it. I don't over advertise it because I feel like if people want to give, I can always point them there. But they exist. And I know a lot of people like that because it's a little more direct. So yeah, that's my answer. And if you do, I love Cash App because when people do use it, it's really easy to send a little heart. And when stuff is sent through PayPal, it gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, and then I feel bad because it isn't easy to directly just say thank you the way it is on Cash App and the way it is on the super chats. Georgia Peach says, are you planning on making Oregon your home base, or will you be moving around? The plan has always been to move around. As far as my legal residence, it is Oregon. And so that's going to mean what it's going to mean. But the plan has always been to move around. Like that has been the goal to get to, is the ability to move around. It was never to stay still. There's no place I want to be all the time. So that's just simply not what I want. For 37 years, I did not leave the state of Maryland. And then when I went to California, it was great at first because it was a new place, but then I was just kind of stuck there. And then like that was where I had the most potential for work. And so it was a reason to stay there because I needed money. But the plan in my perfect world, this was my perfect world of converting to vehicle dwelling, was that I could work in different states inside the theater industry. I will say for a bunch of complex reasons that I've talked about before, it hasn't really worked out. Like people are very hesitant to hire someone out of state, and putting I live in my car doesn't make them more confident about hiring you. So unless you can make those interpersonal relationships in other states, it's really hard. And since I needed to stay where I had the most work opportunity, the potential of moving around was very limited because like I can't go to Portland and start giving out my resume when I have like 4 months of work already lined up in California. It just wouldn't have made sense. Or, or going, I don't know, where else to go? Where else? It wouldn't have made sense to go to Seattle and start handing out my resume when I don't have enough time, when I have 4 months of worked in the Bay Area of California. It would make no sense for me to go to Southern California and start handing out my resume when I have 4 months of book, just to keep that cycle rolling. So it's like the ability to do that has been limited by I didn't have enough money to separate from California and start making connections outside of California. But the goal has never been to live anywhere. I have to have residency somewhere, and I've switched my legal residence to Oregon, but it was never about staying in Oregon. So that's not my goal. It's never my goal. I don't have a goal to have an actual home base, like an actual place I own, not land or anything else. Now, it would be nice at some point, I don't know, to rent a driveway where I had a shed so I didn't have to haul everything around with me. And if I did need to stop or something happened, I had a place I could go and legally park. But I would never want like an obligation to my own land or a house or anything like that. It'd be more like if I had a garage that I was renting on a portion of somebody else's property. That would be the most I'd want at any time, and I would still live in here. Charles says, did theater art since I was 10 years old. I did not start doing theater till I was in my late 20s in college. Yes, I said late 20s because I went back to college after being in the workforce for a little bit. And I decided I didn't want to make sandwiches for the rest of my life. So I went back to college, and that's when I discovered theater. And I'm very sad I did not do it as a child because when I was in school, I was in school with all these kids. By kids, I mean like 18, 19, 20-year-olds who were like, yeah, I started doing theater when I was this age. And I was like, I just found this thing. I am not in IATSE. IATSE is a technicians union, and it is more focused in stage crew for live performance than stage crew for theater. And it's weird for me to make that distinction, but I mean story-based theater. Yes, you do have stage crew that do story-based theater, but I was a stage manager. Stage managers for concerts are commonly in IATSE. Stage managers for theater are actually commonly in equity. Equity also covers actors. So in theater, actors and stage managers are in the same union. And that was the union I was trying to get into. But to get into an equity as a union, actors equity is what it's called, but stage managers, that's where they come from for theater. In other live performance circles, there are stage managers in IATSE, but that wasn't the direction I was trying to go in. I was trying to get, I'm not really a technician. Like I understand enough about being a technician that I've hung lights. I've been called an electrician for a theater show, which is way different than an electrician for your house. I've done some sound stuff, but it's always been either in support of technicians or little things I did because I was the only person in the room and I was the stage manager, but not enough that, I would hire myself to lead any of that. Support it, yes. Lead it, no. So yeah, that's sort of it's a different union. My union actually is equity. I can't find. So the answer is I have a couple of equity points, but I am not officially in the union. I only have 2 weeks, and you have to have a certain number of weeks to get into actors equity. And unfortunately, that was the job I had when COVID hit. That was the job that was going to get me in the union, and that job ended. They did ask for resumes of people who were interested to return. This was Oregon Shakespeare Festival because they are an equity theater, and most of the theaters I've worked with have been non-union or non-equity, unfortunately, or I've been like an intern or something. So I never gained any equity points except for that one job, and it ended 2 weeks into rehearsal. So that's all I have is 2 weeks, and it's gotten me an EMC card. Which is basically the card you have while you're earning your points, but you can't get it until you get your first equity job that is eligible for points. And it's just kind of a pain in the arse to get into the union. And I don't know that it's worth it at 42 years old. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. At this point, unless I found a theater that was going to flip me on a single job, which happens, it wouldn't be worth it for me to be out there fighting for a few weeks here and there. It just wouldn't. It's way too much of a pain at this age. So that was my long answer to that. Oh, shoot. Vanlife Short says, Last Airbender or Legend of Korra and why? LOL. Thank you for the $20 super chat, Vanlife Shorts, and acknowledging Avatar The Last Airbender. If anybody has seen Avatar The Last Airbender, well, it's not called Avatar because of the movie confusion, but if anybody's seen the live action, The Last Airbender, it's terrible. Do not take that as an example of the brilliance of the show. Avatar, The Last Airbender is a masterclass in writing. Not in writing for children, not in writing for animation, not in writing for fantasy-based works. It is just a masterclass in writing, period, that happens to exist in those genres. So the answer, without hesitation, is The Last Airbender. It is such a good show. Like, I have seen so many people mess up redeeming the villain. Avatar The Last Airbender is freaking brilliant in that arena. Like, oh my gosh, like Avatar's the best. Legend of Korra was fine. Some people really hate Legend of Korra, but it was fine. Like, I don't hate it. It was fine. It was entertaining. It was a nice extension of the world, but like Avatar the Last Airbender is a masterclass in storytelling in almost every way, of how to do serialized story, of how to write for kids without dumbing it down. Like, it is just a beautiful piece of work. So there's your answer. I said if you ask me about like TV shows, I'm gonna go crazy. Like food, I'm like, hell, I like these things. Like, what? Avatar The Last Airbender? I can write you an essay. Yeah. Okay. Let's try to catch up. What are we at? Okay, we're only at 38 minutes. Where's the cat, Don? He's sleeping or something. He ate his dinner. He came down and meowed at me for dinner. So, you know, he's being a cat. He's somewhere. He's in here. Ellie's Adventure says, I have a large distrust of so-called experts. That is why you vet people. I don't have a distrust of experts. There's plenty of times where it wasn't the diagnosis was wrong. It was that I may have been overcharged for it, but I was in the position I was in. That was the work that needed to get done. And, you know, it kept me on the road, and that was just the situation I was in. So I've never had a reason to distrust. It's very rarely been that I've met a mechanic who was wrong. You know, if they were overcharging me for the work or the price was a little bit ridiculous, that's one thing. If it was a part, if I knew for a fact it was just simply a part and there were no other problems that were worth tracing, it would be different. That is not this situation. This situation could be dangerous if I am not 100% sure. And so that's just the way it is. You know, if you have a headache, you can maybe take some aspirin and go on with your life. If you have symptoms that are the precursor to something bigger and you think there is a logical reason it could be that something bigger, it's time to go to the doctor, and you may find out it's not anything bigger than that, but you're in a situation where it would be better to be safe than sorry, and this is one of those situations. Terry Newell says ex-paupers almost burned down their van because of a bare wire. Exactly. All right. I think I missed a question that's really cool, so I'm going to go back to it. CCH. I don't know if that's supposed to be C-Cha or just CCH, but says, Dawn, have you ever had an actor not show up? How much panic? I've never had an actor like completely not show up. I have had an actor be late. I'm like running around panicking because you put up a little sign-in sheet and they're supposed to sign in, and then you just go to the sign-in sheet and you can see everyone is there. You don't have to go looking for them. Sometimes actors don't do this, but if you turn around and see them in the room, you at least feel confident. So I had this actor who was running late. I'm calling like, bro, show's about to start. Where you at? Type thing. I ain't say that, but that was about the situation. And so I'm running around like a panic. I do all my checks because at that point we're in runs. We're not in rehearsal. I'm just running around. I'm still trying to call this guy. I walk into the lobby and he's talking to the person at the box office. And I was like, if you get here, can you just sign in? So I know you're here. And I work for small theaters, mostly. I've worked for a couple of big ones here and there and odd jobs and all, but I mostly work for small theaters, mostly. In small theaters, they're probably barely affording the cast and you. There's no understudies. Now, I have had people that needed to be replaced, but it's always happened in a situation where we had enough lead-in time that the person was sick or had a family problem or whatever that we were able to get somebody else in and still be able to run the show, but it wasn't like an understudy who was sitting there waiting. So a lot of the, outside of college, because college is college and that's a whole different thing. But in the quote unquote real world in small theater, it is unusual to have an understudy. And unless there's there was a situation where a guy's wife was pregnant, and he knew that the child might show up during the run of the show. And in that case, we prepped with an understudy for him because we wanted him to have an out as soon as she was going to have her baby. But in most of the situations, there were no understudies. And so, if somebody 100% didn't show up, it would have been I don't know, we're not going to have a show tonight. But I can't remember a time where we didn't, have a person. I think that, people have been late and driven me crazy, but usually I think everybody shows up. Be America X, what's your favorite cat? I'm going to be honest. Before I got Mickey, I didn't even know cats had breeds. They were just cats. They just came in different colors and varieties. I know more about cat breeds now than I knew before I had Mickey. To me, cats were cats. Dogs had breeds, but cats were cats. And since I've had Mickey and just in doing research about cats in general, I've learned more about cat breeds, but cats were just cats before. So I didn't really have a favorite. My favorite cat is Mickey. That's my favorite cat. Robert's Jeepin', what's up? He says, what is the most favorite thing of your build? That's a hard question. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe my heater. That's the best heater I've had since I started living out of vehicles. It is a propane heater. It's what's called an ice house heater or a vent-free heater. They're sold by DawnofVanlife. They actually are sold by what's the one that everybody uses? There's a couple of different versions of this heater. And I freaking love it. Like it has effectively knocked off the cold. Only thing I don't like about it is it doesn't have a temperature gauge, so when it gets too hot, I just have to turn it off, so it can't really temperature regulate. But it's the first time I've really been able to warm up in a way that's not me putting on 15 layers or curling up in my blanket. I have been like with my blanket on, like, all right, we gotta edit this video. Freedom Job, welcome. I don't know how long you've been here, but I'm gonna say welcome. People asking where is Mickey? I don't know. He's probably on the bed somewhere. Tina, I did not get the frayed wires fixed because the technician won't be here until tomorrow. And then I will talk with him about everything that we did over the weekend, and what me and Rob found. And that wire will definitely get replaced, but I also want to make sure there aren't any other problems sitting around. Whoops. I think a troll might have just popped in here. I just saw a bunch of things pop up. Catherine! Okay, CCH is Catherine. Where am I? Okay. That was I had a bunch of things pop up really, really quick. Oh, I think I missed some. No. I think I'm good. Where was I? I don't know. I'm reading, guys. I kind of lost track of the scroll. Julianne says, Dawn, if you were ever in San Antonio, Texas, I will hem them curtains for you. Or whatever sewing you need done. I can even teach you to use a sewing machine if you want to, like Joseph does, Chrome's friend. So my mama tried to teach me to sew. I just don't have the patience for it. Like, even stitch, like, my stitching's horrible, and I think part of it is just like I just don't have the patience for it. I actually had home ec in middle school. And I was never good at sewing. I mean, there was some stuff I put together and it was fine, but I've never been good at sewing. So yeah, which is funny because I had these dolls that I made, and I did stitch them some cloaks because I was trying to make them into Harry Potter dolls, and I did those, and I was shocked those didn't turn out like crap. So I think, like, if I really wanted to concentrate on it, I could probably do it, but I'm just never been like great at sewing. Tina said, I had the same problem with my minivan back in March. It was crazy. Glad she has better people. I think she means me. Thank you, Tina. I wish I could extend Rob to you, Tina, but you're very far away. Yeah. Judith Lawrence says, my daughter was a stage manager for The Mouse. Oh, so she got into that Disney program, I assume. Didn't like it as much as she thought she would, so went back to managing photographers. Hey, the best way to find out is to do it, and you go, I don't really like this. I figured that out with production management, because when I came to California, it was actually for a production management internship, because I was like, oh, well, that's the next job with like a whole lot of security, and I found it out. I hate desk work. Now, mind you, there's a lot of desk work in stage managing, but you also get to be in rehearsal. You get to like tape out the floor for the set. You get to kind of be involved with the tech process a little bit, and you aren't distant from the actual art. And what I found out being a production manager is that it's just about paperwork, and I hated it. It was like all I had left was sort of the paperwork, office work portion of it, and I hated it. There was this distance from the art itself, and I was like, I don't think I actually want to be a production manager. And at first I thought it was just because I was at a big institution, but even when I was production managing and stage managing at a smaller place, which was actually the job I had when I unfortunately became homeless and started living out of my car, I found that I did not like the production managing side as much as I like the stage managing side. Like, I liked being involved with the show. And being involved with the rehearsal process and being in the rehearsal room and seeing how these shows develop from like text on a page to something that's actually performed and alive. I loved being a part of that process. And when I was just a production manager, I lost all that. So yeah, that's how you figure it out. You go through, you're like, oh, this is the next logical stage a lot of stage managers take to sort of have a quote unquote secure job. And as I began to move towards that, I realized it wasn't what I actually wanted. Like, I want to be connected to something that at least has some art to it. You know, you don't know until you know. Marie says, what made you get a box truck instead of a Schoolie or an RV? RV question is easy. I hate most RV layouts. Like, most of the layouts of RVs, I just don't like. And the ones I do like are on like Class A's. And I did not want a Class A RV. I wanted something more the size of a Class C. So it'd be a little bit bigger than a van. Most vans, it would be a little bit bigger than most vans because it has that box out space that both buses and box trucks have, where you have the cab, and when you get to the end of the cab, it kind of boxes out a bit, giving you more floor space and living space. The reason why I didn't want a Schoolie was really simple: the seats. I did not want to deal with removing seats. I didn't want to deal with where I was going to get rid of the seats. I also didn't want to deal with all the other stuff you have to gut from a bus. I don't care if it's a shuttle bus, school bus, whatever. They tend to have more things in them. With a box truck, the cab is already separate, and I knew I wasn't going to touch it. And then I just basically had a box, and I could build whatever I wanted to in that box. So for me, it was way more appealing. I could put in as many windows as I want. I didn't have to worry about removing windows. I could just put in the ones I wanted. A lot of people thought I wasn't going to have windows at all. Some people thought I wasn't going to be able to get between the cab and the box. Both of those things are untrue. And for me, it was the most easy gut job, because all I had to do, there was some wood on the side that was basically for strapping stuff down for transportation. I took that off. The guy who owned it before, because of the way he used it, he had attached a toolbox in here. So I took off the toolbox, I took all the wood strapping off the wall, and then I built it back up from there. And it was only 2 easy steps. And then I reused the wood that I took off the wall, and I sold the toolbox. So I profited from the toolbox. I was able to use the wood in my build, and I just would not have been able to do that with a school bus. The gutting process just involves taking out so much. And there are people who just take the seats out and build up from there, and they don't worry about taking out all that other stuff. But then you're losing all that potential building space. And I felt like the easiest starter with the most amount of space for what I wanted to do was a box truck. For all the people asking about Mickey, he's fine. He's a cat. Sometimes he just goes off and he sleeps for like 15 hours, and then he bothers me for like 5 hours. He's fine. Ninth Element, what's up? All right, so I'm gonna wrap this up in soon. 5 minutes probably. So if you have any questions you want to drop them in the chat. Her story says, do you still enjoy van life? That's why I'm still doing it. Yes. Card Gamer says, have I ever thought about writing? That's what I went to college for, but I have never enjoyed nonfiction writing. So like memoirs and journals aren't really my thing. I like making up a story. So yeah, I actually have a completed novel that's published, but I wrote it. It's like 400 pages long. Freedom Dove says cats are just cats to me. Oh, exactly. Like, I would say within the last year, I've learned more about cats actually having breeds than I ever knew. Like, cats are just cats. It's like black cat, white cat, orange cat, other cat, fluffy cat, not fluffy cat. That was my breed of cats. If I missed something, I apologize. I see that we may have had somebody unpleasant jump in the chats because I'm seeing deleted things. Linda, what's up? Riverside, California. Tina says, hey, Dawn, when are we going to live stream together? I don't know. We got to figure it out. Jen of C says, when I was a kid, what did I want to be when I grew up? A vet. Because in my mind, a vet just got to play with animals all day. And I don't know, maybe I was like 10 or 11 when I found out what vets actually did, and I didn't want to do it. I was like, vets actually do what? Yeah, I was like, vet was everybody brings you their pets. So in my head as a kid, it was like, that's us. I'm reading. It's very slow. My screen doesn't like to actually give me a scroll. Foghorn Leghorn says, do you use a diesel heater? Just since I have never had a diesel heater. I have nothing against them. I just didn't want to add another fuel. The truck is gas, and I was already going to use propane. So if I could find a propane heater that wasn't a cheap old Mr. Buddy heater, I wanted to try that out first and just have 2 fuels and not a third. That's all it was. I have nothing against diesel heaters. I think they are literally the best, especially since you can kind of put them in smaller vehicles and not have them be a danger. Because with the Buddy heater, I had this fear of knocking it over, and it kind of has like an open flame. In this space, there's enough room that I don't mind having that thing on the wall. Corey Bowes is actually somebody who is on my channel a lot. I might have to go, like, there he is. Yeah, I know Corey. Corey's been around. Sadie, you wanted to be a model? You should have been one. Miss VKC says, that is so cute about being a vet. When I was a little, I thought all cats were girls and all dogs were boys. I went through that too. The things we thought we were kids, and then we find out that we were wrong. Jaguar says, how much weight have you lost thus far? You're looking skinnier. So before I started the build, I was somewhere in the world of 60 pounds of weight loss. I have gained some weight back since the build, but I did weigh myself yesterday because my scale wasn't working. And so it was just a dead battery. So I switched the battery, and just to make sure it was working, I went ahead and weighed myself, which I hadn't done, even though I'd started exercising last week. And I've been like steadily exercising. I'd had a couple of false starts before that. So I just started exercise back up, and I am in the 260s right now, according to the scale, which isn't actually bad news considering I used to be over 300 pounds. And I was afraid that I was back up to like 280 or something like that. So it was good to find out I hadn't really gained that much weight. Like, I lost some ground, but I haven't gained an insane amount of weight. Like I said, I've gone back to doing protein shakes. I've been doing veggie wraps almost every day as my primary meal. And I mostly try to keep like vegetables or fruits as the kind of snacks I have outside of that. For my birthday, I allowed myself to have birthday cake, but there was a day I've been really, really trying, you know. Oh crap, what time is it? All right, I guess it's time for me to wrap this up. Thank you for all the happy birthdays. Corey, it's nice to know your name is Corinna? Karina or Corinna? I'm wondering. Yeah, Sadie, you should have just been a model. You should have represented. You know what I'm saying? Nerdy girls with glasses, plus size, represent. A lot of people apparently thought that about cats and dogs. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because it's almost 6 o'clock, and we've been on for an hour. Thank you all guys for dropping in. Thank you for all of the happy birthdays. Thank you for just caring about me at all. I'm just some random girl who started this channel like living out of her car, and you know, I just appreciate the following I have and everybody who comes and watches my videos, visits my live streams, and all of that. Have an awesome night.